Who doesn't want to get back to nature every now and again? There is nothing like camping. Sleeping under the stars, roasting marshmallows over a fire, hearing something brush against your tent at 3 a.m., wondering who or what left those strange tracks by your cooler. Yep, camping is a wonderful nightmare. Here are 5 creepy camping stories from Reddit users. Gather round the fire, screen, and stay away from the staircases. While backpacking the Appalachian Trail, me and a friend had just finished hiking up a very large hill and were ready for lunch. After some discussion, we decided to eat at the shelter as there would be water. Well, we arrive at the shelter and we come across another hiker. This guy was just carrying an old-school backpack and was digging for crumbs out of the bottom of a Fritos bag. So he seemed really out of place. We asked if he was section hiking or through hiking, as in doing the entire trail or part of the trail. He looks at us with this weird look and says, I'm just hiking through. After a little bit of talking and avoiding all of our questions, he says, I gotta go. As he was packing his bag, we asked what his trail name was so we could look out for him on logbooks. He clearly had no idea what we were talking about, and this struck us as odd, as anyone who hikes the Appalachian Trail knows what a trail name is, and usually has one they go by. After sort of explaining what we meant, he said, "Oh, right, it's Hatchet." Which was obviously a load of crap because the guy was holding a pack axe in his hand when he said this. Well, we continue hiking and we reach our camping spot. We get settled for the night when I'm woken up by... who else? Hatchet, rustling through my backpack. I scream, "Hey!" And he looks in my hammock, stares right at me for a good second, and then bolts. By the time I got out, he was nowhere to be seen. Turns out he had stolen a pack of tuna from my bag, and a couple granola bars from my buddy. Never saw him again. The weird part was we got back into town and ate lunch at a diner. Turns out old Hatchet was on the run. There was a wanted poster hanging up on the door. Turns out 2 weeks prior, he mugged a couple people, leaving one guy in pretty bad shape. The whole thing was pretty freaky. We gave our statement to the police, but never heard if they caught him or not. I was out making breakfast by the fire, and I noticed something fall down at a 45-degree angle into the brush just across a clearing. I drive over and check it out, and it's a homemade drone. Bigger than most you'd find for sale. It was a fixed wing. I can tell it's not military, but it's painted gray and has a camera in it. I can't find any markings to say who to return it to, but there is a Raspberry Pi controlling the thing and a battery, like a marine battery, only just for the controller, and a battery for the motor. The most notable feature was a solar panel array on top of the drone. I know a guy who does data recovery at his job, and I asked him if he would take a look at it. He comes over and hooks the Pi up to his laptop. After a while, he shows me an autopilot program and the file of the video it took. We see some people, but not enough to make anything out. The autopilot program had a map of the course, beginning in West Virginia, and the end was somewhere in Illinois. I drop it off at the police station in town, explain what happened, and leave it at that. I was with my cousin. Both of us were around 13 years old, and we decided to go camping alone for a few days. We were in southern Chile, which is normally pretty wet, even in the summer. So the day we head off, we pack food, a tent, 2 canteens, some matches, in short, everything we were going to need, and head off. The first leg of the way, we went on quads. Then we had to continue trekking by foot. Eventually, we found a little place by a small lagoon, where we decided to set camp. Everything was going great. We fished for food, made tea, and were having a blast. Then night fell. We began seeing lights on the other side of the lake, which must have been at least a few kilometers away, and voices. Little kid voices crying for their parents. We began shitting bricks at this point, and we each held a machete close. I don't think we slept that night. Worse, in the morning, we heard splashes close by, so we cautiously ventured out of the tent to see what was happening. A man was drowning his dog. At this point, we said, fuck this shit, let's leave. So we packed everything up in record time, and we left within the hour. Ran the couple-hour hike to our quads, and burnt rubber all the way back to my cousin's house. Wife and I were stargazing at a state park in Michigan, where we were at the bottom of a dirt road on a secluded peninsula that juts into Lake Michigan. The immediate area was a dried lake bottom, with some trees beginning 50 yards in the distance. Considering the setting, we were confident that we were the only people nearby. While enjoying the stars, I thought I saw a flash of light in the trees out of the corner of my eye. I didn't mention it to my wife because I thought it might have been a firefly nearby in my periphery. About 2 minutes later, there was another white flash, but closer. This time, I asked my wife if she saw it. Right when she says yes, an extremely bright flash of white light occurred right between my wife and I, who were standing a few feet apart at the time. She screamed and I took a big step backward. It was so bright that we were temporarily blinded as our pupils adjusted to the sudden lighting change in an otherwise dark environment. We both jumped in the car and drove out of the woods as fast as we could. I still haven't figured a reasonable explanation for that night. I spend a lot of time camping on the beach in Yosemite all over California, really. But one particular Friday night, my friends and I decided to camp in the woods near Hicks Road. If any of you are familiar with the South Bay, I'm sure you know where it is. A road notorious for fatal car accidents, squatters and abandoned homes, and shit like that. This is about our third time camping up there. The last few times we heard some freaky noises, but nothing awful. So we pitch a tent in a small clearing and plow through a Taco 12-pack before we crash out. I fall asleep no problem, and wake up to the sound of what seems like people arguing outside my tent. It was around 4:30 in the morning, and I stand up slowly and peek out into the darkness and just see a massive black mass moving. Looking through the other tent windows, I see there is probably close to 6 or 7 other giant black masses. Once my eyes adjust, I finally know exactly what the hell they are. They are wild fucking boar. I sat down in complete and utter silence for around 45 minutes while I hear those 500-pound animals scramble around the tent. So close I could hear them brushing the fabric. Oh god, they make the grossest snorting and wheezing noises ever. Eventually, they all left, and when the sun came up, I knew why they were there. We didn't eat the last fucking taco.